Dubai was never built on oil. Read that carefully. One of the most recognizable skylines in the Middle East did not rise because of petroleum. In 1975, this city had only around 175,000 residents. By 2025, that number had climbed to nearly 4 million, an increase of more than 2,000% in just 5 decades. But this extraordinary growth was not powered by oil fields. It was powered by something much more fragile, a promise, a very specific promise that no matter what conflicts erupted across the Middle East, no matter what wars, revolutions, or regional crises unfolded around it, those storms would stop at Dubai's borders. That promise was not just symbolic, it carried real economic value. By the end of 2025, the Dubai International Financial Center had become home to 280 banks, 102 hedge funds, more than 500 wealth management companies, and over 1,200 family offices, managing global fortunes. In a single year alone, the United Arab Emirates was expected to attract nearly 99,900 millionaires, relocating their wealth. More than any other country on the planet, more than Singapore, more than Switzerland, more than anywhere else. Just days before the attacks, Dubai's largest developer, MIR Properties, reached a historic valuation of 149 billion dirhams, roughly $40.8 billion. The date was February 25, 2026. At that moment, Dubai's real estate market was surging. In August 2025, the city had officially passed 4 million residents for the first time in its history. Projections suggested that number could reach 5 million by 2030 and nearly 5.9 million by 2040. Programs like the Golden Visa were attracting entrepreneurs, investors, and wealthy families from around the world. The statistics showed it was working. More than 231,000 new residents had moved to the city in a single year. Population growth was running at over 6% annually, the fastest pace recorded in years. By the latest estimates, Dubai was home to more than 81,000 millionaires, along with 237 centimillionaires and 20 billionaires. This was not simply a city expanding, it was a city accelerating. Then everything changed. On February 28th, it was peak tourist season, Ramadan, a Saturday afternoon. Dubai's beaches were packed. Hotel brunches were in full swing. Luxury pools were crowded with visitors escaping the winter in Europe. Palm Jumeirah was hosting its usual wave of international tourists, while the marina was filled with yacht parties. And then the strikes began. Iran launched a massive wave of attacks toward the United Arab Emirates, 189 ballistic missiles, 941 drones, and 3 cruise missiles. Most of them were intercepted by air defenses, but not all, and the ones that slipped through did more than damage buildings. They shattered something far more important: the promise that had always been the real foundation of Dubai. The attacks were not random. They were part of a larger escalation. Iran had launched them in response to a coordinated U.S.-Israeli military operation inside its territory. The operation, known as Roaring Lion, targeted senior leadership figures, military installations, and key air defense systems. Before the strikes even began, Iran had issued a warning. If its territory was attacked, every American military base across the region would be considered a legitimate target. And the United Arab Emirates hosts one of those bases. Al Dhafra Air Base, located outside Abu Dhabi, houses significant U.S. military assets and personnel. That presence placed the UAE directly inside the conflict's line of fire. For more than 40 years, Dubai carefully built a reputation, an unspoken understanding that this city somehow operated outside the chaos of the region around it, a place where the rules of Middle Eastern instability simply didn't apply. On February 28th, that assumption was challenged. And to understand why that moment mattered, you first have to understand what Dubai actually created. Because the real product the city was selling was never what most people thought. Dubai has very little oil. petroleum contributes less than 2% of its total economy. Its neighbor, Abu Dhabi, holds more than 90% of the United Arab Emirates' oil reserves and still relies heavily on that revenue. Dubai does not. Instead, Dubai built its economy on something far more difficult to create and far easier to lose: trust. In 1985, the city launched Emirates Airlines. Over the following decades, Dubai International Airport evolved into the busiest international aviation hub on the planet. In 2024 alone, airports in Dubai and Abu Dhabi handled a combined 128.7 million passengers. Every day, roughly 90,000 travelers moved through the region using just three major airlines: Emirates, Qatar Airways, and Etihad. Dubai positioned itself as a global bridge between continents. Within an 8-hour flight radius of the Middle East lives nearly 2/3 of the world's population, and Dubai placed itself directly in the center of that network, a mandatory crossroads connecting it all. Then came the money. Dubai structured its entire economy and its population around the movement of people, the flight patterns of the world's wealthy and the world's displaced. Syrians fleeing the chaos of civil war, affluent families shaken by the upheaval of the Arab Spring, Russians and Ukrainians arriving in the aftermath of the 2022 Ukraine conflict, even British millionaires leaving a country that projected the loss of more than 16,000 high-net-worth individuals in a single year. Each wave of newcomers arrived for the same reason. Dubai offered stability, opportunity, and a safe harbor. It was the largest net migration of wealthy individuals from any country in an entire decade. And they all came to Dubai for the same reason. It was stable, it was tax-free, and above all, it was safe. Residents left their cars unlocked, their homes unlocked. Neighborhood streets that would be heavily patrolled in other global cities were open and unguarded. Crime rates in Dubai were among the lowest of any major city in the world. Complete foreign ownership, no personal income tax, world-class infrastructure, a legal system modeled on London and New York, the Golden Visa program. That was the real product. That was what Dubai had been selling all along. Not the Burj Khalifa, not the Palm Jumeirah, not the luxury brunches, yacht clubs, or beach resorts. The true product was the absence of fear, the guarantee that no one would ever have to know the location of the nearest bomb shelter. On February 28, 2026, Dubai realized something it had never prepared for. There were no public bomb shelters, not a single one. Residents spent the night in underground parking lots. Parents told their children that the booming explosions above were just Ramadan fireworks or the traditional cannons fired at iftar. Several buildings sent messages urging everyone to take cover in basements. Gyms shut down. Grocery delivery apps collapsed under the sudden surge of orders. Supermarket shelves were emptied within hours. Neighborhood streets that would normally be bustling into the evening lay eerily silent. By Sunday morning, the city was almost unrecognizable. A peak winter weekend, peak tourist season. Beaches that would normally overflow with sunbathers were empty. Even the skies above one of the world's busiest airports were clear of planes, a sight almost never seen outside of a global pandemic. Dubai's rise was built on the instability of others. This isn't cynical speculation. It is the city's own recorded history. Beirut was once the Middle East's financial capital until the Lebanese Civil War in the 1970s destroyed that position completely. Bahrain stepped into the void until Dubai's ascent pushed it into a secondary role. Each transition followed the same engine, the promise of dependable stability in a volatile region. Now that logic is reversing. There are 300,000 British nationals living in the UAE. Within hours of the first strikes, the British Foreign Secretary announced support systems to help citizens leave the Gulf region within 48 hours. Tens of thousands of people who had moved to Dubai from unstable countries now find themselves living in a city that is suddenly less stable than it was just a week ago. A portfolio manager at Edmund de Rothschild had estimated the long-term geopolitical risk premium at 7%. If that assessment holds, it will force a lasting reassessment of Dubai as a destination for global capital. The longer the conflict continues, the more urgently investors will search for alternatives. Singapore, Zurich, London, Lisbon. Each city becomes a slightly more attractive option than it was just days before.